So we got a subcontract job with another company who wanted our people on the job site 5 minutes prior to their start time. Their paperwork even stated that the people should be on the site 5 minutes early for the pre-opening meeting. I confirm with the prime contractor via email and they reply, yes, they need to be there 5 minutes before the start of their shift. No problem. I schedule the personnel accordingly and make sure all their timesheets show they went on 5 minutes early. 3 weeks later, today, the prime contractor raises a fuss about the invoice we sent showing all these people going on 5 minutes early. I provide them with a copy of our instructions they sent us, the email reply confirming it along with the relevant law in California that states if you ask employees to be on site early, you are legally obligated to pay them for their time. Amazingly enough, now they just want our people on site on time. Go figure. This has to be the worst customer service experience I have ever had. My company had a contract with an ISP, let's call them Bindstream, for phone and internet services for a 3-year term. Canceling has been nothing short of a nightmare. I started out by sending them a letter to the address specified in the agreement that we did not wish to renew our services. The letter came back as undeliverable. Then my next step was emailing their customer support team. They sent me a cancellation worksheet to fill out, which I did. Then they told me I was sending it back too early and I needed to wait until we were less than 30 days from cancellation, even though I'm required to give them 30 days notice of cancellation. Isn't that neat? So anyway, we finally have our services turned off and then they send us a $3,000 early termination fee. I send them back a copy of their contract that extremely clearly shows the terms and that we were in them. After arguing about that for a while they finally refund the termination fee and we end up with a credit balance of around $600. I ask for our $600 back, they say sure, but in the meantime say wait no, you never returned our equipment and charge us $1,200 leaving us owing them around $600, mind you this is several months after I returned it. I argue with them back and forth, provide tracking numbers, etc. They finally admit they did get their equipment back. So in conclusion they credited us the $1,200 and sent our $600 back. Oh wait, sorry, that's what should have happened. Instead they never refunded the $1,200 and sent us to collections and charged the account off. Now we're getting harassed by the collections agency and Bindstream is refusing to talk with me anymore because we're in collections. DLDR, Bindstream owes us $600 and sent us to collections. This very simplified version of events has spanned 9 months of my life. I will never recommend them to another person as long as I live. Edit figured out their email format and sent a giant email about the issue to anyone that looked like they might have a useful title. This strategy may have borne fruit, hopefully that's the case. When I was younger, we moved a few times for my father's career. Every time, it went really well, except this time. I was quite young, this story was told by my father years later. He and my mom had a whole bunch of things he needed to do before we moved and my father was pretty much at the last minute and so, for the first and last time, he had to hire last-minute movers for packing everything. 2 Major League Kevins arrived in their truck. I will refer them as Skinny Kevin and Fat Kevin. Skinny gets out of the truck to help Fat to park. While giving Fatty instructions, my father notices some strange tubes coming out of Skinny Kevin's sleeve. My father, curious as he is, asked Skinny what were they. He replied, "I got a kidney removed, these tubes are for my dialysis." Then Fat Kevin parked the car. When he came out, we could see how huge he really was. He was fat. Just climbing the 4 steps in our entrance was enough to exhaust him. Great, one Kevin got no kidney and the other had no cardio. But soon enough, you'll see they both have no brain. Packing up went well but unpacking was something. When we arrived at our new house, they were still unpacking. Not a big deal until we saw this. The lawnmower was in the living room, the fridge was in the entrance hall, and the washer was in one of the rooms. When my dad asked why the lawnmower was in the living room and not in the garage, Fat Kevin replied, "Well, you didn't put a tag saying where it needs to go." When my dad asked the same question for the fridge not in the kitchen, Skinny Kevin replied, "We didn't know where to put this, there was no tag." My dad was getting really angry until he saw our box of dishes laying in the living room. I guess he already knew the answer as to why they weren't in the kitchen. He took the box to bring it himself into the kitchen, but then he heard a crashing noise inside the box. We, in some way, had more dishes than when we left. My dad opened the box and saw all of our dishes were smashed inside the box. All our plates, broken in pieces. Now my dad was mad. He goes to the Kevins, "Why are all my dishes destroyed?" Fat Kevin, oh. That's a shame. We didn't know they were fragile. Dad, it was written plates and dishes on the box. Skinny Kevin, yes sure, but it wasn't specified that they were fragile. Dad, so I can smash your truck's windshield no problem? Fat Kevin, well no, it'll break. Dad, well it should be written fragile on the windshield. That way, everyone will pay attention as to not break it. Skinny Kevin, no need, sir, everyone knows it's a windshield and to be careful around it. Dad, well I'm pretty sure everyone knows that plates and dishes are fragile. I don't remember the rest of their conversation but still we gave them a terrible review and we couldn't file a complaint to their boss since well, Fat Kevin was the boss. Fat Kevin paid for a new set of dishes. Obligatory did not happen today. But it's been long enough that I can share it without feeling like a fool. A year ago I wanted to join a class to prepare for med school entrance test. So I was visiting one with my mother. We met a head of department who talked about our curriculum and such and we ended up deciding on the spot that I would enroll, so while my mother took care of the forms and fees I stepped out of the admissions office. In the hallway I saw this guy in a deep blue hoodie and nerdy glasses heading into a classroom. I was feeling pretty confident that day and this guy was totally my type. So I said hi my name is underscore but my friends can call me underscore. He smiled and told me his name and said I'll see you around I guess. As he was leaving I said cute under my breath. And apparently he heard that and looked towards me in surprise and went into the class. Cut to a month later on the first day of class, this exact same guy walks in the class, wearing a formal shirt and a mic pack. I realize that he is our physics professor. And would be teaching us thermodynamics and kinetics for the next year or so. He definitely remembered me and turned a little red when he caught my eye. I had never been more embarrassed about calling someone cute in my life. And it took a while before I raised my hand in his class. In my defense, he is 27 and a lot of other girls did a lot more than I did. TLDR, saw a guy called him cute and he turned out to be my professor. I work at a gas station and tonight some homeless guy comes into the store, grabs a 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade, a few bags of chips, a burrito, and asks if he can pay with his account, so I said yes, assuming he had a card or Apple Watch, and I ring it all up and beg it. I tell him the total and he puts his wrist on the card reader and says beep and runs out the door. Then a few minutes later he comes back and asks for a pack of smokes and I try and stall him by telling him the register is down and he tries to pay with ditchweed and pills. So he leaves again and I lock the door so I can call the cops to make a report. He comes back again as soon as the cops show up and hides in the bathroom for a good 10 minutes. The cops talk to him and he tells them he can pay for stuff with his hospital wristband on his account. Alright, this is pretty tame as far as malicious compliance goes, but hopefully you guys take away a nugget of wisdom or at the very least, an entertaining short story. Not too long ago, I decided I was done working at my job. The projects all started blending together, there wasn't much innovation or inspiration, people fought so hard to keep the status quo instead of progressing. I'm sure you guys know the like. Also, my wedding was coming up and as we were doing the whole thing ourselves from soup to nuts, my mind was busy elsewhere at the point. Typically, with US jobs, you're not required to but recommended to put in your 2 weeks notice as resignation. And if you have any PTO, paid time off, saved up, usually they'll pay this out. As societal expectations go, I let my director know I'm submitting my resignation and this was 2 weeks prior to my last day. She had no problem with it and made the request to Human Resources. The next day, I get a notice stating that my request to get my PTO paid out has been denied. WTF? Mind you, it's not like I had a month worth of PTO or anything crazy like that. It was literally 3 days that I just wanted them to pay out. Instead they tell me I needed to submit my resignation 3 weeks in advance for me to receive my PTO, not 2. So I dig out this archaic binder I received on my first day of work and find the section regarding PTO payout. Lo and behold, it states 3 weeks. Seriously? My director goes out of her way to let HR know that it's approved. That she's okay with them paying out the 3 measly days. Denied. So flip it. Instead I submit a new resignation letter, dated the same date as the original and instead change my last day to the end of the week. I also submit a PTO request to take off the last 3 days of the week. Approved. To make things more official, I even put an out-of-office message for the last 3 days I'm not in office, essentially putting all projects on hold, because, well, I'm out of office enjoying my paid time off. It was the most useless, asinine, hoop jumping I had to do just to get 3 days paid out, which was rightfully owed as it had been earned. So the lesson in all of this? Know your company's policy real well if you're even thinking about quitting. Don't lose out on anything you've earned being a wage slave. A friend of mine shared this gem with me many years ago. When he was a small lad of 7 or so, his classroom had a Boy Scout instructor come in to give a presentation to the students, including how to start a fire with sticks. The fun starts when the instructor was having some trouble getting this little fire going, and my friend started to giggle. This prompted the instructor to call him out, and ask if he could do better. "I sure can, sir." "Then why don't you come up here and show us?" Well, my friend happened to be from a very outdoorsy hunting-fishing family that also did American Revolution reenacting. So he proceeded to pretty much set the table on fire. Now this was a big no, of course, and he was taken to the office, his father called, and the whole tale laid out to said gentleman. Who looked at his son, looked at the principal, instructor and teacher and said simply, "He told you he could do it." Apparently he also then took my friend for ice cream, just to make it plain what he thought of the matter. I.F. was 19 years old when this took place. It wasn't overly late, probably about 8 p.m. but it was winter so it was already dark. I was walking home from visiting a friend and about 20 minutes from home. It was quiet and I had headphones in, just listening to music so I didn't hear this guy approach from behind me. All of a sudden this cyclist has slammed his brakes on directly beside me and is staring at me. I take my headphones out and glance at him but he doesn't speak, just stares. I keep walking. I'm pretty close to home now so I wasn't too worried. This guy starts cycling again, slowly now, matching my walking speed. I keep my eyes forward and ignore him, fully aware he's still looking at me. To get to my flat I had to walk down this really quiet, dark country lane and although it wasn't very long it wasn't an ideal place to be with this guy. So I stopped and glanced down at my phone hoping he'd keep going. He did, for a short while but then he stopped and turned to watch me. There was no way I was walking down that lane with this guy there. So I crossed the street and went down another road, a well-lit one with lots of houses, hoping it would be safer. That's when he said something that chilled me to my core. "Where you going? You don't live that way. I know where you live." I wanted to be sick. He could have been bluffing but the way he said it, I believed him. I was terrified. I dialed my partner's number and kept walking, aware of this guy following me even now. When my partner answered I quietly asked him to come get me when I heard the guy go oh flip and he cycled off ahead of me. I don't know what startled him so much, I guess it was because he thought I was calling the police but he took off and I'm forever grateful he did. Creepy cyclist, let's not meet again. Before all of this, I was a junior at high school and I interned for one of the deans. I hung out in his office for a period of the day, around 45 minutes, mainly doing nothing unless he had tests for me to grade. One day I was sitting at his desk, which faces the door with a small window, doing some homework with my headphones in. There was a knock at the door, so I get up and open it. The lady starts asking me if I could direct her to a room and I told her I didn't know where it was. Gonna be honest, no one in the school knows the room numbers. She asks me if I could go back into the office and call someone or figure it out and I tell her that I'm a student and don't work here. She says that she didn't realize and apologizes and then she walks away. Later that day I looked around. The room number she was looking for didn't exist but I hope she found what she was looking for. I'll start this with not me, but a friend. I was involved though. Going back some 20+ years I was a junior engineer working shifts in the maintenance department of a manufacturing facility. A friend of mine was still working his way through university and doing whatever to make ends meet, in his case, overnight in a restaurant doing, amongst other things, pot washing. It is fair to say that the kitchen staff did not like the overnight team and could be a bit obnoxious. An entire sitting of pots and pans would often be left for the overnight crew rather than just the odds and ends that they hadn't got to. One night, my friend went in and got handed a disciplinary for not cleaning the mountain of dishes correctly and was told that they all needed to be spotless, anything else was unacceptable. If he was not willing to do some honest work then go find another job. We all know this type of motivational message. It just happened that I was working nights that week and got a phone call from him. "Hey op, do you still have access to that sandblaster?" "Yes, but what do you want it for?" "Don't worry, I'll be over in a bit." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of how all of the saucepans, frying pans, skillets and etc. in the whole restaurant kitchen got sandblasted clean, and in the process rendered next to useless until they had all been well seasoned. He lost his job, but said it was worth it. I got a disciplinary of my own when someone told my boss about an unauthorized visitor one night. I still see my old boss occasionally, and about 10 years after the incident, over a beer, told him what happened. Fair to say we had a few beers and a thick head in the morning as things that shouldn't happen at work became that night's drinking topic. This was Super Bowl Sunday last year and this still baffles me. I was watching self-checkout like usual and the light went on for alcohol approval. Me equals me OM equals old man. Me, hi, I just need to see some ID. We have to card everyone now. OM, I don't have an ID. Can't you just sell it? I'm 72 years old. Me, I understand sir, but our new company policy states that everyone must be carded for alcohol and tobacco. OM, you've got to be kidding me. Come on, just sell it to me now. Me, no sir, that will not be happening without ID. OM, can't you just sell it to me and then I'll come back with my sister's ID? You can see my sister's ID. I'll come back later. Me, what? No sir, it has to be your ID. I'm going to deny this sale, I'm sorry. OM, well thanks a lot lady. Me, you're super welcome. Have an awesome night. Never ever has a customer offered to show me someone else's ID in the 4 years I've worked retail. Obligatory. This happened about 1.5 years ago. I, 24F, work for a large company in IT and we had some elementary kids on site and we were pumping them up about IT and showing them the office. We broke the kids out into several groups of 10 and my job was to show them the fun stuff in the office and then show them my desk. This was a pretty easy task. They loved all the fun stuff and getting to walk around the buildings, but the time came to show them my office before bringing them back to the group for activities. Keep in mind my desk is a cubicle in a building that is just floors of cubicles. The cubicles are in groups of 4 to encourage team collaboration, which overall makes it fun to turn around during a break and talk with co-workers. So I bring them up and show them my floor, the break room and my little desk. They're all pretty bored considering we saw the fun things first. My own error. One kid though, his little wheels were turning in his head. He asked, so you come here every day? I answer Monday to Friday like school. He then asked if I had recess and I said no, but I get a lunch break. Then he asks if I get summer break and of course the answer is no. Then he asks how long I work every day and my hours are 8 to 5. He stands there silently and I just watch this poor kid come to the reality that work is every day, all day, no recess, no summer, forever. He was the only one in the group that came to the realization and he asked no more questions after that. We walked back and I realized I might have crushed this poor kid's hopes and dreams of being an adult and may never want to grow up. Who knows, maybe it will encourage him to work somewhere that has a more fun corporate environment, or maybe he won't even work in a corporate environment. Hopefully he'll be some cool entrepreneur. Either way, reality didn't settle with him well. DL, Doctor, I showed a group of kids my cubicle during an event to pump kids up about IT and one kid realized adulthood is working every day, all day with no recess or summer break. This didn't happen today but a couple years ago. Also posting on a phone. I went to a friend's house and had to use the bathroom. I noticed that the toilet paper was empty but there was a roll on the counter. I thought I would be nice and replace it for her. So I did that and didn't give two thoughts about it. About 20 minutes later she went into the bathroom and stormed out in a rage. She lived with her dad and her uncle who had Down syndrome. She went to her dad and started yelling at him that his, in her words, stupid brother put the toilet paper on backwards again. I was in such a shock and almost scared of her to tell her it was me. I quickly realized she was a toxic person and cut her out of my life. DL, Doctor, put the toilet paper backwards in my ex-friend's bathroom and she blamed her uncle with Down syndrome. An old Karen, okay, called today. Okay, hi, this is generic Karen name. I have been a customer for 30 years and I need to come in and take out some cash. I know it's closed but my husband waited in the drive-thru for an hour yesterday, and that is just not going to work for me. We are not letting anyone inside except to open accounts, and our wait in drive-thru has never been an hour long. Okay, so you are calling me a liar. I can't believe this. Etc. proceeds to lose her mind. No, I am not calling you a liar. I understand how waiting can seem far longer than it actually is, but we have actually been timing our drive-thru. Okay, what's your name? I want to talk to your manager right now. I talked to him yesterday and he is going to fire you over this. She isn't available right now, she is helping drive-thru to make sure the line doesn't take too long. Okay, you get him on the phone right now. I can't believe how you are treating me. More craziness, just listening to her rant now. Okay, I will tell her you want to talk to her. I put her on hold and told my boss, if you didn't get it by now, a woman, that this lady is losing her mind, demanding to come inside, demanding to speak to her, demanding that I am fired, etc. Boss was way too busy helping drive through and OK would just have to wait, or leave a message. OK had hung up by now and called back, talked to someone else who told her the same thing with the same result. Got sent to voicemail and my boss got to it 2 hours later. OK's whipped husband had already come in and waited less than 5 minutes and got the money. Boss told OK the same thing I did, and OK just kept ranting. Boss finally told her, as I have explained already, the lobby is closed. Just because you don't want to wait does not mean that we're going to let you in. That is not how this works. We are doing our best, as I said, we have been timing. Total time wasted on old Karen, 30 minutes. That is not how this works, priceless. This happened about a year ago, just after I got done with volleyball. Sorry about format, my computer died. Cast. Op yours truly. Karen mean lady. Jim Karen's husband. To catch you up, I was one of those girls that filled out young. I mean young, like 11. I'm pretty short too, so if people just see me in baggy clothes they think I'm my actual age. If I have makeup on, I look 16. I was sitting down to eat at a restaurant in the town I was playing volleyball at when I had to go to the restroom. I just told my mom what I wanted to drink and got up to use the restroom. I'm wearing a black dress, and the waitress are too, mind you. The ladies' room is across the restaurant, of course. It's packed, so I squeeze through the tables being polite. I hear a lady in front of me repeating, "Excuse me. Excuse me." So I turned around and looked at her and she groaned. "Karen, finally, some darn service. I've been waiting for 10 minutes to even order my drinks." "OP, I'm sorry miss, I don't." "Karen, you better be sorry. I want the first round of drinks to be on the house for compensation." "OP, ma'am," as I tried to say. "Jim, I'll have a most expensive drink now." "OP, sir, I don't work here." "Karen, of course you do. You're like 16. I should probably tell your manager your dress is too short, I can see your thighs." "OP, miss, I'm not even in high school. If you think I'm even 14 you're wrong. Besides, why are you staring at my body? I am 13. It took a lot to stand up, because of my untreated social anxiety, but I did it. I remember my meal got taken off of the check, and it was like 25. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee, cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about TJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head. It sounded like she hit the end table. That's what woke me up. But even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance, but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the imps got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. I had just dropped my girlfriend off for work and I was back home unloading my car. Believing that multiple trips are for idiots, my arms were full and I had a very precarious grip on this giant Costco bottle of whiskey. I went to open the door to my apartment and didn't have a free hand, and in that moment a light bulb appeared over my head with the thought of I should balance this glass bottle on my knee against the wall. So I balanced the bottle, freed up my hand, and immediately swung my keys into the door and got the lanyard stuck. In my panic to fix my mistake, I moved my knee, and the bottle tipped and broke, leaving whiskey all over my shoes and the garage floor. And of course, I cut my hand while picking up glass. Now I'm out like 40 and can't drink away my pain. TL, Doctor, I am not as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. I had this awesome science teacher in middle school. Some people thought that she was kinda strict, and to be fair she kinda was, but only with the kids who slacked off. I was also in her advisory, and most of the other people in her advisory kinda sucked. She didn't like them very much. Every year in late April, she would take her advisory on a field trip to this farm to help out with a native plant sale. However, in 8th grade, it went a bit different. She pulled me aside. "Teacher, so, I was thinking, instead of taking the advisory on the field trip this year, I could take you and your friends." I was a little surprised, but it made sense because me and my friends were the people that always did their work and got A's in her class. Me, sure, that sounds great. So we go on this field trip and it's pretty fun. It's on a farm, so we got to see some cute animals. On the drive back, the following conversation transpired. OP equals me, NT equals nice teacher, F1 equals friend 1, F2 equals friend 2, MC equals my crush, HC equals her crush, F2, RB equals other boy. F1, so, NT, do you ship students? NT : Well yeah I do. F1, is that what you guys talk about in the teacher lounge? NT, sometimes. F1, well who do you ship? NT, I think F2 would be good with MC. OP, what about me? NT, HC is really nice. I think you'd be good with him. F2 and I exchanged looks like she's got this flip-flopped. When we got back to school, we had a fire drill, and NT was walking alongside the line to make sure everyone was out of the building, when she walked over to F2 and I. NT, you should also consider OB. You think I'm looking at your class to see if they're all here? I'm scouting which guys are good for you. I miss being in her class every day. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. Context: I worked at a hospital in food service for 3 years after my mental health was nearly scrambled. And these are only a few of the stories that I found funny and the most frustrating. The cast hospital employee, he, me/op, coworker, CW, boss, BS. 1. I was taking out the trash with a coworker and when I emptied out my trash can I saw a bunch of gross bin water. She told me to use the hose on the wall next to us. Now, this was like a gardening hose but confusing. I turned on the faucet and tried to spray the water in the bin. I ended up spraying myself in the face. 2. I was cleaning the cafe with another coworker. We have an unsaid rule that 10 minutes after we close you can still grab some food but not from the grill. Once those 10 minutes are up we're close. I was cleaning the salad bar while my coworker was cleaning the hotline when we got a knock. Me opens the door / can I? He, hi. I know you're closed and I'm sorry but can I have some fries? We were past our 10-minute mark. Me, sorry but we just threw our fries out and the fryer is turned off. He, please. I'm hungry. Our hospital was just 5 minutes drive away from a deli. Me, sorry miss, once we're close, we're closed. 15 minutes pass and I walk back into the cafe. BS, op, did you deny he some fries? Me, confused and looks in the cafe / he, walking out the cafe with a basket of fries / me, thinking to myself / JFC I just want to quit. I wanted to go to college but no my parents forced me to get this godforsaken job. Me, yeah. My boss then proceeds to lecture me on how I need to work on customer satisfaction. Me, thinking again / idiot all you do is stay in your office all day and only come out to get some food. My boss leaves. CW, yeah, he came back to tattle. Me. Dial-up sounds in my head / all because she didn't get any fries? When I was 4, my mother would trim my bangs about once a month with large shiny silver barber scissors. I thought these scissors were really cool and I was enamored with cutting my own hair. I was also 4 and not very good at it. The first time I cut my own hair I cut some of the sides off. My mother had to try and even it out, going from shoulder length to pixie. The second time, I went for my bangs. There is a picture of me with microscopic bangs in our preschool class photo to help date this memory. After I cut my bangs, I got in trouble and was told very explicitly that I was not allowed to cut my own hair again. Cue malicious compliance. Well, turns out, I had a sister. She's 3.5 years younger than me and so if this happened while I was ending preschool, she was around a year old and definitely still in diapers. At one point while we were unsupervised, I got the big sharp shiny scissors, brought her over and cut her hair. She did not have much of it, but what there was pretty much gone. She had the kind of baby fine curl ringlets that some babies have. After that, I got in really big trouble. Unfortunately for me, my excuse of well, you never said I couldn't cut sissy's hair didn't give me any traction whatsoever. This is probably why I still the event so clearly. Both the joy of the hair cutting and the horror of just how much trouble I was in. Considering how big sharp scissors are, it could have gone down a whole lot worse. I went on to cut my own hair again about 6 months later right before the kindergarten school picture. But I never cut my sister's hair again unless she explicitly asked me to. This clearly happened many years ago, but I was reminded of it by my aunt when we were talking about cutting around hair due to shelter-in-place laws. I have a habit of speaking before I think, in this case texting. I asked my friend what she thought about people that support the protest but not the looting. I should have known better. She took offense and thought I was trying to start a debate and informed that it was a sensitive topic and that I was being rude in asking. Which after I did realize I should not have asked. My question stemmed from Facebook posts saying if you didn't support the looting/riots you didn't support the movement. In my head, to me it seemed that instead of uniting a group it was just creating separation, so I asked and probably could have worded my question better or not have asked at all. So yeah, I'm sure I broke a friendship over a question that I should have known better not to ask. TL Doctor, I asked a stupid question that potential could ruin a friendship. Bought 3 gallons of water for a 6.5-gallon fish tank. I don't need to say anything else. Added for length, I got my first bat of fish today. BC, I was looking for something a bit different than what I already have. Yeah, I've got like 14 amphibians and a leopard gecko. OFC, the natural progression of this is a fish tank. Those are the rules, I don't ask. Anyways, I went down to the local Dollar Tree because we love a frugal hoe, and I stood there, in the aisle, knowing I had a 6.5-gallon fish tank and thought to myself, yeah, 3 gallons should be fine. I came home, and started setting up my tank. All was well, gravel was going well, everything looked beautiful. Until I had to pour in the water. Started pouring it in, first gallon didn't make much of a difference. Okay, why next gallon? Not much. Third gallon - something is wrong here. I looked to the ground and remember the thought running through my head, 3 gallons is enough. Well, you silly Sally, 3 gallons is not enough. So off to the gas station we go. DL, doctor, well you could check the top but I'ma give one. I bought 3 gallons of water for a fish tank that's 6.5 gallons and now I have to go to the gas station for more at 10 p.m. because don't we all just do little things and feel big stupid sometimes? I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. A bit of background, I work as a field technician for one of the 2 major telecom companies in my area. There are strict rules when it comes to us messing with each other's networks. Basically the long and the short of it is that we are not allowed to touch any of the competitors' cables or equipment unless it is to simply move it out of the way, so basically no disconnecting. These rules are enforced by steep fines that both the company and technician would have to pay. Onto the story, I was doing some storm restoration work after a pretty windy and heavy thunderstorm. My customer's drop, the line that hangs from the telephone pole to the house, had been torn down by a falling tree limb. There was enough cable left on the drop that I could simply climb back up the pole and re-hang it as is. So I was up on the pole and I had just finished hanging it and making the connections in the terminal when I could feel eyes on me. I looked at the house next to my customers and saw a lady there pointing and waving at me. As soon as we made eye contact, she immediately started running downstairs towards me. I knew that she was going to try to get me to do something for her, so I started to get off the pole as quickly as possible. I managed to get out of my climbing gear but she caught me as I was stowing the ladder. That's when the following conversation happened. Lady, you work for company right? Keep in mind, I'm wearing a company uniform and the company logo is plastered all over my truck. Me, yes, what can I do for you? Lady, my wire hanging very low, can you climb up and pull higher? Me, unfortunately no, I would need a service ticket to do that. As I said that I noticed that the wire she was pointing to wasn't even our cable. It was the competitor's cable. Me, that's not a company line, it's a competitor line. You have to call them to get it brought up. Lady, but my phone company. Me, I understand that but that line is competitor, you have to call them. Lady, my phone company. Me, Yes, your phone company, but that line is competitor, I am not allowed to touch it. Lady, my phone company. Me, okay, we're done, bye. I then got in my truck and drove back around to the front of my customer's house and left her standing there. If you guys like this story, I have many more from my years working at this company. TLDR, lady wants me to work on competitor's line for free. So yesterday at school I was in my maths class joking around with my friends. One friend asked randomly how big horse genitals are and we laughed trying to make guesses. I decided to just search it up. I knew I was on the school Wi-Fi, but I have searched other questionable things on the school Wi-Fi before and nothing happened, but this time was different. Anyways, I searched it up and we laughed about the result. Then I closed the Google search and got on with my day. Today about an hour ago I was doing my work when a school leader came up to me and asked if I searched how big is a horse DK. I obviously get nervous and straight away say no, and that I had no idea what she was talking about. She gives me a look and it seems like she doesn't believe me at all, but I keep saying no, can't look back now, Sue. The school leader says maybe someone got my information and I say maybe, and she walks off. I have no idea what to do now. I'm nervous that they will somehow find out I'm lying, but I don't think it's really that big of a deal. DL, Doctor, I searched inappropriate things about horses at school and lied about it when approached by a school leader. Happened 10 minutes ago. So me, 20M, and my girlfriend, 22F, just got done watching Wolf Children. For those who haven't seen it, it's an anime movie about a woman who has two kids who are half wolf. It's a pretty good film, we enjoyed it very much. That night, when we were laying in bed together, I got up to turn off the light, and when I was climbing back in, she raised her legs to stop me. Feeling like a bit of a delinquent, I started humping her legs in response. She starts shouting, "This isn't what I thought was going to happen, abort." To which I quickly, maybe too quickly, snapped back with, "That won't be the only thing you're aborting by the time I'm done with you." Yeah, I'm not too proud of that one either. Needless to say, she just told me to sleep on the couch tonight and hasn't said a word since. TLDR, made a witty comeback involving abortion right after watching a movie about having kids. Girlfriend still won't talk to me. This didn't exactly happen today, it happened way back when I was 14. My aunt just died, and my cousins and I are chatting. Naturally, on the eve of a funeral, we decide to play hide and seek. Now one of my cousin, let's call him A, who was 14 like me, has an elder sister, who was 19, we'll call her B. Trust me, she becomes relevant later on the story. At this point, we are playing hide and seek like any normal person. I was the seeker, he was the hider. I was frustrated that I could not find him anywhere. Just as I was about to give up, partly because I was tired and partly because my mother was giving me the stare, I heard A's laughter. I went to look where it came from. It was small hallway, with a restroom by the end of it. I was convinced that A was inside that restroom. I knew the restroom had a lock problem. So I decided to barge my way in. I pushed hard against the door, but unsurprisingly was met with resistance. I could hear a squeak, didn't think much of it, every teenager squeaks. I barged in again and was met with lighter force. An opening came. I took my chance and put my head through it. I was mortified. On the toilet was sitting A's sister, B. She was sitting on the toilet with one hand holding the door back. She was fully clothed except the part, thank God, I couldn't see. I quickly moved my head back and ran away thinking of what to do. I gave up on finding A because, to be frank, I had much more pressing concerns. She confronted me at the dining hall, where she asks what happened. I told her everything earnestly and honestly. She seemed to understand and laughed it off. We hadn't met since. I still get nightmares about it to this day, and I am 17 now. And #X200B. DL, Doctor, hide and seek gone wrong. Caught my cousin part naked and she probably thinks I am some pervy peeping Tom. Hello. For those of you who have been working in the design industry for a while now, did you have trouble deciding what type of designer to be? With so many different design career paths to choose from, how did you make your decision? I just graduated with a bachelor's in design and am having trouble determining what design career path I should focus on. My degree was broad, with classes in design thinking, visual communication/graphic design, industrial/product design, and interaction/web design. I also took several classes in fashion design and studio art, printmaking, painting, sculpture. I had fun taking classes in so many different disciplines, but now that I've graduated and am looking for a job, I feel like I should have just chosen one thing and stuck with it. I've been working as a freelance graphic designer throughout college and also did multiple internships spread out among different types of art and design. I love all things design and feel like my dream job changes every month if not every week. My portfolio is lacking because I can't focus on one type of design and mastering its necessary skills. I live in a city with lots of tech companies, so most available positions are UI/U.X. Making apps and websites doesn't really appeal to me compared to other more hands-on design jobs, but it almost seems like the only option right now. I would like to move in the future but don't see it happening this year due to COVID-19. Should I focus my time on creating a solid UI portfolio right now and get a job doing that for the time being, even if it's not what I'm most passionate about? I feel like I could always develop other design skills while having a UI job if I want to switch careers and move in the future, when things are more stable. Thank you for your thoughts and stories about your own career path. I appreciate hearing from anyone who had a similar struggle choosing their career. Alright, my roommate's situation is weird, and it's getting weirder by the day. So I originally moved into my apartment with an engaged couple, 22F, and 22M. Shortly after moved in together, they broke up and decided to still live together, with me, 27F, there. I just happened to get fired and super sick at the same time. So I wasn't working for a month. With everything happening, one of my friends let me borrow money to pay for rent. And I owe one of my roommate, 22M, utilities at a later date, when I could get more money. I started a new job and was barely 2 months into it, when COVID hit. So I didn't work for a month and a half. I'm back at working again, but not at my normal hours, due to some clients not wanting sessions. During COVID, roommate, 22F, decided to have a friend come over and basically live with us. Didn't even know till the other roommate told me. Just found out she didn't tell me because I had a friend over for 4 hours in March and didn't tell her, definitely not the same thing. Well, this fourth person kicked out the male roommate into the living room, so he's been there for over a month now. On top of all of this fourth person is actually my roommate's new girlfriend that she hasn't told us about, since she is still living with her ex-fiancé. I was told that this fourth person may stay longer and may pay half of roommate's, 22F, rent. But it won't affect how much I owe. Alright, so whatever. While cleaning today, found receipts under my puzzle for their money order of how it was all split. If the fourth person is really paying for half, then just found out roommate 22M has been paying way more than all of us, so roommate 22F doesn't have to pay her portion of rent in full. So we're all paying weird amounts of rent. I can't anymore with this living situation, and we still have a year left of our lease. I can't even say anything. I mentioned to not overfill the garbage once and roommate 22F went crazy on me, even though the garbage spilled all over the floor. I'm not sure what to do, at this point. Context: my older brother and I like to do build battles in Need for Speed Heat. This time, he picked a BMW X6, I picked a 2015 Land Rover Defender. We also like to test our car's acceleration and top speed against each other. Story: my brother already tested his car for the round, it was my turn now. I get 1 mile per hour slower than he did on his car. I said it's not that big of a deal, he said, like the famous Vin Diesel said, it doesn't matter if you won by a mile or an inch, it's still a effing win. Revenge: I did some tweaking to my car, and redid the test. I got 1 mile per hour over him. I obviously rubbed it in his face, lol. DL, doctor, older brother brags about 1 mile per hour win, so I tweak my car and get 1 mile per hour over him. A couple months back I got in an argument with my closest friends, and their response was to accuse me of something inhumane that wasn't true at all. In result, I got arrested and kicked out of school for the year. Thankfully, my charge was dropped since there was no proof, and my classmates didn't believe what they said. But I still want revenge. My new best friend hacked one of the kids' Instagram accounts and posted extremely racist things, which got him a lot of hate, and he had to make a new account. Today I gave one of the boys' numbers to everyone on my fake account, and told them to make fun of his insecurities. There's one more kid who I haven't got back at yet. But I want to go further. I want them to suffer like how I did. Because of them, I went through an awful depression, and even questioned my sanity. Any ideas? I don't know who raises these people that just hang up when they feel they are done talking. They reached out to us for help, I offer the help, they misunderstand something, and hang up as I try to explain it. If you hang up on me, it's over. I don't give a shoot what happens to you. I don't care if you get help or not. I hate you because you flipped my numbers up. Any good intentions I have are gone. That is not how you conduct business. I was not being mean or disrespectful. There was absolutely no reason to hang up besides you just being an ass. I just want to cry when this shit happens lately. People are so rude on the phone. Not me, but witnessed my bar manager go through this. Customer, excuse me, I've been waiting ages and you served everyone except me. Bar manager, I'm sorry love, what do you want? C, I'm not your love. Stares. BM, I'm sorry, can I get you anything? C, I think it's awful how you ignore customers who have been waiting for so long. BM, I didn't realize you had been waiting so long, what can I get you? C, well, I think this is awful, 5 people must have come after me and been served. BM, I apologize again, I'll get you your drinks now, what would you like? C, for free? BM, sorry, I can't do them for free. C, why not? I've had to wait for so long, it's the least you can do. BM, I don't think it works like that, do you want any drinks or not? C, of course I do, why do you think I was waiting at the bar? But I don't think I should have to pay. BM, you can either buy a drink or stand away from the bar I'm afraid, that's all we can offer. C, fine. But I don't want you to serve me. BM, why not? C, because you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing. BM, well everyone else here didn't serve you fast enough either, what difference does it make who pours your drinks? C, well I've just said, anyone but you. Now get somebody else. BM, well, the other staff are busy mixing drinks, so you'll have to wait if you want them. C, are you kidding? Flip you. BM, flip me? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Commence ranting and shouting followed by the bouncer escorting her out. This happened a few years ago when I was working in the fairy tale land of the Blue Vests. My wife worked right across the parking lot in their sister club store, and since they had a pretty good cafe in the store, I would often run across the parking lot to have lunch with my wife. On this particular day though, my wife had the day off. I ran across the parking lot to grab a couple of hot dogs and some frozen yogurt, still in my tan pants, blue shirt with the name embroidered on it and blue vest, and after eating my lunch I still had some time to kill, so I started ambling around seeing if there was anything I didn't really need to spend some money on. As I'm doing this I'm chatting with my wife on the cell phone. A kindly older lady walks up, I'm a real sucker for my elders, and asks me very politely where something is. I start to stammer, but my wife, who's heard the question through the phone, tells me what aisle it's on and I relay this to the customer. She asks me where that is, I have to tell my wife where I'm standing, and then I relay the directions, complete with pointing. A few steps later and another customer steps up to ask where something else is. Ooh! I know this one, so I politely direct the customer to their location, thanks ensue and I'm off again. Wouldn't you know it, but I get stopped yet again. Another where can I find? Question. I explain I don't actually work here but at the store across the parking lot, but my wife does, and relay the question. Again, I relay the answer, complete with pointing, and decide I've had enough shopping and head for the front door. I'm almost to the door when I'm stopped one last time with a simple "Do you carry?" question. My wife quickly replies nope, sorry, I relay and hit the door. After that I was always careful to take my vest off and put a jacket over the blue shirt, but my wife and I still laugh about that to this day. D. Obligatory. This was not today, it happened about a year ago. So I was in my morning chem lecture, minding my business and paying attention. My chem professor was the kind of guy that sometimes was a bit more fast and loose with his personal PPE than he should have been. He was a younger guy, about 30, so I guess it was partially confidence on his part. It's important to know this particular professor talked about his home life/girlfriend to give relatable examples of things. Cool guy, wasn't ragging on her, just telling stories of their lives together to make relatable models for things like atomic bombs. Anyways, he was doing an experiment up front involving liquid nitrogen. He was not wearing gloves. At worst he got a couple of drops splattered on his hands, so the light and frost effect protected him. About then he wised up. He chuckled and said I should probably put some gloves on, shouldn't I? My smartass, in the front row, maybe 5 feet from this man, without thinking about how it could be interpreted, said yeah, I'm sure your girlfriend would appreciate it if you kept your hands. I died inside shortly after as he busted out laughing so hard he was in tears. Some of the class joined him, and now whenever we see each other around campus he laughs and I try to crawl under a rock. I have been addressed 3 times now as that girl who made the joke about our professor's hands in chemistry class, and my embarrassment is undying. Again, this happened a year ago. I get called that once a term when coming into a new class. In my defense, I meant it in the sense that she'd prefer it so she could hold his hand or they could do chores together or something. No, I am not an innocent minor. I was 20 at the time and very in love with my current fiancée and missed her. We were in an LDR at the time, so I may have been projecting. DL, Dr. Professor forgot PPE, and when he made a remark about putting it on, I without thinking said something interpreted as his girlfriend preferring he do so he can pleasure her. DL, Doctor, spilled milk on a corner of my room, including my surge protector. Happened a few minutes ago. I was already having an iffy day and things were finally looking up. I cooked a delicious dinner with a new recipe on the first try. I updated my resume, I made a really cute house in The Sims, and was looking forward to an evening of relaxing, but I just got handed a big ol' FU. See, I usually end my evenings with dessert. Today's dessert was a fudgy chocolate brownie and a mason jar of milk flavored with vanilla and hazelnut. I was super ready to sit down with it at my desk and play games until an ungodly hour. My room is not large. It's quite small, in fact, and I don't have enough outlets to plug all my geeky stuff in at the same time. My Nintendo, my laptop, my desk lamp, and sometimes my phone all share one surge protector in case of bad weather. It sits awkwardly under my desk because of the angle of the cords, and my desk chair can get tangled sometimes. My room is also messy. I'm in the middle of reorganizing it, but that's just a fancy way to say there are a lot of objects in a tiny area with only so many available spaces. So yeah, let me just set this mason jar of milk down on the edge of my desk where my phone is charging. Oops, it's dark out, I need to close my window shades. Okay, now I just step back to my desk chair and accidentally roll it back, which causes the wheel to pull my phone charger back and topple the milk jar all over my carpet, my desk chair, my laundry hamper, and my surge protector. Nothing exploded, but I unplugged everything and had to sop milk out of my mesh chair and the carpet. I went back over the spills with water, but I doubt it's enough to get rid of the smell and stickiness. I tried to handle it myself because my mom is the type who stands there and tells you what you should have done rather than helping you fix it. While doing so, I tried to use a hairdryer only for the carpet and chair. Unfortunately, I was so angry at the situation that I pressed the hairdryer into the chair and burned a tiny hole into the seat. On top of all that, I don't know the extent of my electronics dryness, as I can't tell how well the prongs were sealed in the cord, so I'm taking precautions and going without them for a while. This sucks. DLDR, thousands of shop-level employees got laid off based on a computer algorithm the corporate office designed that doesn't factor in seniority and gives preference to certain employees. Store managers and corporate office employees were not affected at all by these layoffs. Please feel free to ask me any questions, I have lots of free time now. And #X200B. I work at Take 5 Oil Change, same thing as Jiffy Lube, for 5 years and was terminated yesterday along with 1,000 other lube techs. All the stores only have 1 to 3 people working there now. Nobody at the corporate level got let go, all the store managers are still working, and the rest was left up to a computer algorithm. I took pictures of our company's organizational charts in ADP before they locked me out, showing that corporate employees were not affected at all. The regional manager, who is in charge of over 60 stores, actually said that corporate's computers picked which assistant managers and lube techs would stay and which ones would be terminated, with preference given to some assistant managers. I have no say in the matter. Apparently experience wasn't a factor in this algorithm. Lube techs who had worked there for more than 20 years got laid off, while some techs who just started last year are still being employed. In the letter they sent out to everyone, they stated that all employees terminated will be considered for rehire subject to work history. They aren't even guaranteeing their jobs back, they're basically telling us we need to fill out an application again and hope for a callback. Does this seem pretty messed up, or is it just me? How can a company lay off people so easily without care? It sounds like they are using the current events as an opportunity to clean house and start fresh with new people once things settle down. I can't imagine a company anywhere that lets a computer tell them who can stay and who can leave during a layoff. I think what bothers me the most is that I know very well the expendable shop-level employees are only getting laid off so the company can afford to pay the management and corporate employees. They still have 10 employees on payroll making $70–80K a year for unit growth and development. This company is not doing any growing or expanding right now, couldn't they let some of those people go? Thank you for taking the time to read, I just really wanted to vent my frustrations. If what they are doing isn't illegal, then it is certainly the shadiest thing I have ever come across. Okay, so I shared this story with my so realized that you guys might find it interesting. Okay, so back when I was around 10 years old, a cousin of my father moved in a village near the town I am from. He only had his mother, which he didn't have a very good relationship with, and my dad the cousin. So in the beginning he used to come for dinner at our on the weekend. The cousin was pretty okay, kinda shy, a computers teacher. I liked him because he brought me a video game once. So fast forward a couple months later, I am home alone with a friend playing Dragon Ball on the PS2 because it's raining outside and we can't go. My mom had drove to the grocery store and we were pretty absorbed in the game. Until the doorbell rings. I open the door as I want to get this over with and get back to the game, but I see it's the cousin, soaked from the rain, asking me if my dad's home. I naturally invite him in and take him to the living room. He seems very agitatedly, on the edge, kinda weird. But I am 10 and I thought it's probably the rain and him being wet. He tells me he brought me something and I remember getting excited, but it was silly little portable radio and I was very disappointed. He kept asking where my dad was, and when will he be home, but I had no clue. I got bored of him, so I just left him there and went to my room to continue playing with my friend, and then he also joined us. That's where I felt a bit creeped out, a grown man in wet clothes sitting in a small people's chair in my room. I think he felt that we were uncomfortable, because after a couple minutes he said he had to go and that he will come back another time. I told my parents about it and they were very upset that night, but I didn't understand why. Next days I was to stay home and my parents didn't go to work. I remember my dad walking around the house a lot, but then it all went back to normal. Fast forward like 10 years later, I remembered that dude and asked my dad what happened to him cause I never saw him after that night. Turns out the guy had mental problems, killed his mother and was wanted by the police for 3 days until they caught him. He came to my house and I let him in the day he killed his mother and was hoping my dad could help him or something. Dude has been in an institution since, and I never saw him again. But that's the story of how I let a psychopath in the house. I was a kid.